Hey guys, I'm back with another video, and in this video we are going to build this a small Blazor application. This is for countdown timer. When our website is going to launch, we create this page where we have this countdown timer that this website is going to be launched within this time. Okay, so for this application I'm using Blazor web app with interactive web assembly. So this complete page, this is SSR, statically server side rendered. Everything is statically server side rendered. But this section, if you see, we have this countdown timer running, right? 36, 37, 35 seconds and all this. So this component on this page is using WebAssembly. So only this part is interactive WebAssembly. Apart from this, all these other components, all these are statically server side rendered. Then we have this form. This is also SSR, statically server side rendered page only. So we can try notifying. We have this proper validation here. We can add something, some random email. We can say notify, and then we can see this loading thing, and now it got notified. We can clear this out and display some message here that this we have taken this email into our database and something like that. So this is not using any interactivity. This is using stream rendering for that loading indicator and all that. All right. Now, because this section is interactive, so before this, if somehow WebAssembly was not able to be downloaded completely, or before that, or maybe with pre-rendering or with this page source, if we check this page source here, if you see, my Blazing website is launching soon. After that, we have this section. So you see this section, we have this section fixed. So here, when the WebAssembly is not getting downloaded, then we'll simply display this static message, the actual date time. Let me quickly show you. And something broke. Oh, because I zoomed. All right. Now I'm going to refresh this and pay attention on this section where we have this timer. So if I refresh it, you see launching at then date time. And after that, when WebAssembly got downloaded, then that static date time that got removed from the screen, and then we have this interactive timer which is actually showing us this countdown timer. We are going to implement this as well, that before WebAssembly comes into the picture, we will display that when this website is going to be launched, and when WebAssembly comes, we'll simply remove that and we'll add this countdown timer. All right, then we have the social links. All right. All right, so let's start building this. So I'm in here my Visual Studio. So I'm going to create a Blazor web app next, and all right, then here we'll say, let's say Blazing countdown. All right, next, authentication type none. We don't need any authentication for this one. Then interactive render mode, we'll use WebAssembly. Per page component, okay, we are good because we will have interactivity on one component only. Let's create this. So project got created, and before starting working on this, let me show you one more thing on this demo. So I modified the time. So now the website is launching in 32 seconds, 31 seconds. So we'll see what happens when this countdown timer goes to 0. Okay, we are 10 seconds, 9, 8, 7, 6, and 1, 0, and boom. Our countdown timer got removed from here, and then we have this message, website is launched, please refresh the page. So if someone has this website or this URL open and they have not refreshed it, countdown timer was running. So when everything is finished, the countdown timer finished, if we refresh the page, it will load the current website, which will actually have your completed website, because you should have planned this countdown timer that when your website is going to be launched, and at that time your website should be available. So you'll see this thing. We can refresh this automatically also if we want to, but it's nice to have this message that website is launched. Please refresh the page to get the live website. All right. Okay, let's start working on our project now. All right, so our project is here. First thing we'll do, we'll simply see what all pages and components we need. All right. So in this, first let's run it. Let's see how this project is looking without changing anything. Okay, so it's here. We can see this home, counter, weather. On counter, this counter page is interactive using WebAssembly. So we are good. Now what we'll do, we'll simply modify this complete layout and everything. So first, in components pages, we don't need weather page. So we'll remove this page. I need to stop it. We'll delete this page. We don't need weather page. And same thing inside client project, we can remove this counter.razor page because we don't need this as well. All right. Now after this, inside pages, we have home in main project. Here I'm going to create a folder inside components, and in that shared folder, I'm going to have my reusable shared components. So here what I'll do, I will have one notify form and then social links, right? Those two things. So those are going to be SSR. So I'm going to put these in main projects components shared folder. Here let's say notify form.razor. One is this one, and then in shared only we'll say social links dot razor. All right. Then we have this countdown timer component. So that component I'm going to add that in client project. So here also I'm going to create a shared folder. Inside the shared folder, I'm going to say countdown timer dot razor page. All right. Now on our home page is home. I'm going to remove this h1 and this text. Okay. Here I'll have one h1. Before that I'm going to have one image, but let's do this. So this website, or maybe what was the name, my blazing website is launching soon, something like this. All right. After this I'm going to have our countdown timer. So countdown timer. Okay, we can have it as a using statement here if we want to, or we can add this in our underscore imports.razor if we want to. So we have countdown timer. After this we will have our notify form. Again, this also we can have here as using, or we can move this to underscore imports.razor. I'm having these here because I'm using only one page, so I'm okay with this. And after notify form, we'll have our social links component. All right, save it. Let's quickly run it. We'll see how is it looking right now. No, there is some error. Pages does not exist here, so we'll remove these pages. Run it. And we can see my blazing website is launching soon, countdown timer, notify form, and social links. All our components here we can see. Right now we'll start adding the actual UI and logic to these. Okay, so first thing, we don't need this layout. What layout we have? We don't need this. What we need the direct pages, no top header, no this left navigation bar, but we need the background of this complete page to be this thing what we have in this left nav menu. So this gradient, we will use this gradient on our complete page. So let's see what we have in this gradient. We can check it here, or we can check in our project. So this comes from layout, nav menu. In nav menu.razor.css, if we see, we should have this somewhere here, or maybe in main layout. Yes, main layout sidebar, we have this background image and we have this linear gradient with these colors. So we are going to use this only. So let's copy this thing because we'll add it for some other thing. Then let's go to main layout. In main layout, we don't need anything. We directly need body, nothing else. So we can remove everything from here. All right. We'll have this Blazor error UI. This is for whenever Blazor wants to show some error. So let's keep it like this only. Then in main layout.razor.css, we'll remove everything because we have removed everything from there. So we don't need all the CSS. We will just have Blazor error UI here, nothing else. So just leave this Blazor error UI related CSS and remove everything else. All right, save it. Then we have this nav menu and nav menu.razor.cs. Now when we cleaned up our layout, so this component is not needed, we'll delete this. We need to stop this and then just delete this file. And we removed everything now. All right. Now that gradient styling, so that we need for our complete page. So that means we can add that on body. So we can go to www root folder and app.css. Here also we will remove everything. We'll just have HTML and body where we are setting this font family, then remove everything. And we will have this Blazor error boundary CSS intact. Remove this darker. So we have HTML body with font family and then Blazor error boundary. That's all what we have on this page. Now we will add the background on body. So we'll say background image and then this linear gradient, the same thing. Save everything and now we are good. Let's try to see how it is looking. All right, so we can see this is our text which is by default in black color, so that is not being visible, but we are good with that. But this thing, this linear gradient, we can see multiple layers of this, right? These horizontal rows. So we don't need it like this. So let's quickly try to change some CSS to get it working. Maybe let's have it left side only, then okay, we are on this body section. Here after background image, what we can do, we can maybe set background repeat. Okay, this we can say no repeat, because what it was doing, it was having this gradient background and then it was just repeating it multiple times. So we are saying that don't repeat it, let it have only one. Then next thing, it is not taking the entire space now. So we can set background attachment as fixed. So we are saying that this is fixed on this complete body, whatever element we have added this. So now this is like this. Now we can simply play around with these degrees, these angles, if we want to change the direction of this gradient. Okay, so maybe we can try, instead of this 180 degree, we can try maybe changing it. So you see it is changing. It was in bottom, now it is slightly changing to this direction. So we can have whatever we need, I am okay with this, let's say 150 or 160 degree. 160 degree, I'm good with this. All right, now what we'll do, we'll simply copy these three things and we'll go to our code and we'll add this CSS here. So now we are good. Background image, this linear gradient with this, then background repeat, no repeat, and background attachment fixed. Now we are good. All right, now let's go to our home page. Pages, home page. So let's wrap everything in a div class container, or maybe let's do this. Let's move this container on main layout. So on main layout, we'll say div class container, and inside this container we are going to have our body. All right, on this container let's have some margin top as well, so empty 5. All right, now on this home page we will wrap everything inside a div with div class row. Okay, and then we'll move all these things to our div class row. All right, inside this row, inside this div we'll have div class, let's say call sm5, and then we'll have everything here. Okay, now we need this call sm5 to be in center. Right now if we see it, it should be left aligned because that is the default. So you see this section is here, we need this in center. So what we can do, by default this row, this is actually display flags in Bootstrap 5. So on this call sm auto, call sm5, we can say mx auto. That means on the x axis we want margin auto. It is a way to center, horizontally center a div inside display flags. Okay, so we are actually centering it. Save it. Now we can also have display flags on this. Then we'll say flags column, so that everything is in one by one and vertically stacked. Okay, then we can have some spacing between these, so we'll say gap 3 between these items. So gap utility, we can use gap with display flags and display grid. So here it is going to have this spacing between these elements. So save everything, let's run it. It's here, we can see it is here, and there is this gap. Let's have some more spacing from top. Okay, so for this what we can do, on this row we can say pt5, let's say padding top 5. So now we have this padding top from here. All right, so we are good now. On this h1 we will have some class, and this class is going to be, first thing, text white, because we need white color text here. Then we will use text center. All right, so save it, and then we need this font a bit smaller for this. Okay, so for this Bootstrap gives us contextual classes for heading. So this is h1, we need this h1 tag, but on this we can say appearance should be same as h4. So h4, so heading 4. Now if I refresh it, this text, will see this should be white color, horizontally centered and a bit smaller. You see, this text is smaller now. All right, so this is cool. Now we'll have image, the logo of our application here. So what I did, I went to Bing image generator. I simply say let's just create a logo for a website named my blazing website. That's all, and it generated me 4 options. So I like this option, which I'm going to copy here in W root. I have this logo. So this logo. So let's add this, the very first thing in this div. So we have this img src logo.png. So we don't need this tilde slash logo.png. Save it, or we can have some styling on this. So let's say style, some height, something like 150 px. Let's rerun this. And this is pretty bad. Let's move it to the center. So what I am going to do here, how to move it to the top, this thing, and then let's move it to the bottom like this. Now we can see this is very bad. Now let's zoom this section, and here we can go to this image, on this image, and we can simply add one class to this, or let's say how this behaves with margin, let's say left auto and margin right auto. So this is going to be in center. So margin left auto and margin right auto. So we can use these two things, and we have bootstrap shorthand class for this, that is that mx auto. So that is margin left auto and right auto, and we can apply this directly here because this is an immediate child of display flags. So we can have these margin left and right auto. All right, so on this image only we'll add a class and we'll say mx auto. Okay, now for semantics it is better to have alt tag on all of the images. So here we can say my blazing website logo. Save it, and now we should be good. After that we have h1, then we have countdown timer. So we'll work on countdown timer later. First let's work on this notify form, because this is also directly, or maybe let's start working one by one. So next thing we'll work on this countdown timer. So this countdown timer, if you go to this right now, it does not have anything. What we will do here, first thing we'll tell it that this component should be interactive using WebAssembly. So at the rate render mode, we are going to set render mode interactive WebAssembly. All right, now this component is interactive. All right, now here we will have two things. First thing is going to be private date time launch time. Okay, and this is going to be a new date time, and then when this website is going to be launched, we need to have that thing. Now when we work with times, so there is this time zone thing. So let's say I am from India. For me, what time it is, if I set that time, when you are opening this in some other country, your time will be different. So the time calculation, we should have some centralized or common way of let's say converting the times. So the best way or easiest way is to use UTC time zones, universal format for this. All right, so here what we'll do, we have this launch time. So I know for me, I am from India, so this will be in IST, which is Indian Standard Time or India Standard Time. Okay, so here we can set anything. Let's say year, month, and let's say date 15. Then hour, minute and seconds. Let's say I want to use this 7 or let's say 19. 7 p.m. basically 0 for minute and 0 for second. So this is 15th July 2024 7 p.m. all right, or we can say original or actual launch time, something like this, or just have this launch time only. Then for display purpose, or maybe for, yeah, let's do this on this countdown timer. We'll not have this thing like this. Here we'll say instead of H3, let's say we have H5, and here we are saying launching at, here we'll say @ launch time dot toString. We'll show it in some readable format. So let's say MMMDD. So July 15th YYYY 2024 hour, minute. So HFMM. We can add SS, that is for seconds if we want to, and then let's say AM or PM, so TT, and then it's better to show the time zone here. So this is going to be IST, and in bracket we can say India Standard Time, so that it is clear that this time is in IST time zone. All right. So if we save it, if we run it, we should see this thing. All right. So we have this thing. Let's make it text white. So class text white and text center. Save it, run it. Launching at this 15th July. This thing IST Indian Standard Time. So we are good. We are displaying the actual time. Okay. All right. Now we need to show that countdown timer. All right. So for that countdown timer, first thing is we need to get the current date time of my browser. Okay, because I can open this from some other place, you are opening it from some other country, so your time zone, your current date time is different, my current date time is different. So when we want to display that countdown timer, it should be specific to that location, to that browser, to that country, so everything. So we need to get the current date time from that browser, from that OS, using some browser's API. So now for this we cannot get this directly using C# or Blazor. So for this we need to have some small JavaScript. Okay. So for that, what we'll do, we'll simply go to our, let's say, app.razor. We can go to app.razor page. In components, app.razor. Here we can simply have one script. Here we can simply say window dot, let's say, get current date time, or maybe get browser date time. Okay, and we can return something from here, and that something is going to be return new date. Now this is current date time, but again this is going to be the system's time zone. So we need to convert this to UTC only, because for our use case also, in here also we need to convert it to UTC. For that we'll do this, but before that let's send this. So we have written new date. Now how can we convert this to UTC? We simply can call one method, that is to ISO string. we'll simply return this thing. Because this is a single liner, so we can simply cut this and just have it as an arrow function like this. So we have simply defined one function in JavaScript. That's the only one line of JavaScript what we need for this thing. All right, now let's try to access this thing in our Blazor application, in our Blazor component. So in this countdown timer, what we'll do, we'll inject IJS runtime. We'll call it JS runtime. Okay, here what we'll do, we'll simply have a private datetime. Here we'll say client datetime, or let's say client time. All right, let's have default value of new datetime or datetime.now. This is default, this is not going to be used, but let's use, or not now, UTC now. All right, now what we'll do, we'll simply say override on initialized async. Now here we can say JS runtime dot, what is this, JS runtime, okay, the lowercase s, JS runtime dot, here we'll say invoke async, because we are returning to ISO string, so that is a string. So here we can simply say string, or instead of string we can actually directly convert this to datetime. So we'll say it is not a string, it is a datetime. So it will, our Blazor will try to deserialize the string into datetime format. That is what we need. So here we can simply define our window.method name get browser datetime, and we are good. Here we'll say work, not work, client time equals await this thing. Now there is one problem with this. The problem is, this is an interactive WebAssembly. We have not disabled pre-rendering, because we need pre-rendering for this page, because we need this thing inside the page when we are first starting it. So what we will do, if we will do this first, when this component, this on initialize is getting executed on the server in pre-rendering phase, JS runtime will not be available there, because JS does not exist on server, it exists on client. So we cannot access this thing here. So where we can access this? We can access this after this page has rendered inside browser. Okay, so for that what we'll do, we'll say override on after render, or on after render async. Here what we'll do, we'll simply check if this is the first render, we are rendering it for the first time, then we will actually get this thing. So we'll cut it from here, and here we'll say client time, we need to set async here, save it. Now we have this client time ready, and here at this point we know JavaScript is there, that means this thing has rendered. Okay, so if that thing is rendered, then WebAssembly took over. Now we can use WebAssembly. So what we can do now, we can have one more flag here, private bool, let's say rendered on client. By default this is going to be false, and after this first render client time, here we can say rendered, or maybe after this rendered on client to true. Now we know this thing has rendered. All right, now we can have one check here in this HTML markup. If this is not rendered on client, we will display this H5 that launching at this time, and if this is rendered in else case, here we can have our countdown timer logic or countdown timer display. All right, now we are good. We don't need this on initialize now. We can remove this thing. Save it. For now, let's do this. Let's quickly display this client time. So here I'll say client time is, here I'll say @ client time, and to be able to see it, I'll say text white. I just want to see that this should change when WebAssembly takes over. So let's run it. Launching at this time. And nothing happening. Why nothing is happening? If you are familiar with Blazor's life cycle, if we modify anything inside on after renderizing, it does not automatically trigger the re-rendering. For this, we need to manually tell Blazor that we have changed something in on after renderizing. You need to re-render. So here we'll say state has changed. Let's run it. So initially we should be able to see that launching at this thing, and after some time we can see client time. All right, so that means this thing is working and we are able to successfully get the client time using this JavaScript method. All right, now we can start working on our countdown logic. All right, so countdown, first thing what we need is let's say one time span to calculate the remaining time to launch. Okay, so we'll say private, not date time, we'll use time span _ remaining time. Okay, by default we can have it anything, maybe time span .0. We are not going to directly use this without applying some logic before displaying it. So for this, what we will do, we need to keep on checking or updating this remaining time on every second, right? Because that's how we are displaying the countdown timer. It will simply show every second change. All right, so we need to have something that will run in a loop kind of thing that will keep on running. Okay, so we are going to use timer class for this. Okay, so that means we need to have one timer as well. So we'll say private timer, which will be nullable _ timer. There's no point of initializing it because this is a class. So we'll initialize it when we actually need it on the client. All right, so before the state has changed now, or maybe after this, what we'll do, we'll say _ timer equals, now we'll define this timer here, and in this timer we can provide timer callback directly, or we have multiple overloads of this. We have this callback, state, due time, and period, and we have different versions of this. So the one we are looking at, first thing is timer callback. So this is going to be a simple delegate. Here we can simply create a method, private void, let's say update countdown, this method. Okay, and this is going to be, if we go to this timer, if we check this timer callback delegate, it takes one parameter, object nullable object state. So we need to have this here. So here we'll say object state. This is if we want to pass some initial data to this timer's callback. So this is for that only. So here we don't need to pass anything, so we can simply say null. Oh, sorry. First thing is this timer callback, then we have this nullable object state. So we'll say state is null. Then the next parameter is going to be due time. So if we see the amount of time to delay before callback is invoked, but we want this callback, this timer to run immediately. So for this they are saying timeout.infinite to prevent the timer from starting, and specify 0 to start the timer immediately. So we have these three options. We can set any time that this timer should start after 10 seconds. So for that we can simply set timer time span dot from seconds 10. Or if we don't want this timer to start, we can simply say timeout.infinite, so it will never start. Or we have third option, if we specify 0, that means you should start immediately. So this timer will start immediately. So we need this thing. So here we'll say time span dot 0, that we want this to start immediately. Then next thing is period. So the time interval between invocations of callback. So we need this time interval, on which interval it should run. We need this to run on an interval of 1 second. So here we'll say time span dot from seconds 1. So we are telling it that for this timer that you should use this update countdown, you should call this with initial value null, start it immediately, calling this method immediately on an interval of 1 second. So now our timer is ready. Now if you have ever worked with timer, whenever we are done with the timer, we should actually dispose the timer. Okay, so the dispose should happen, or when we are done, that means that logic we'll have here. But what if we moved away from this component in between using something, maybe some operation, anything? So for that we need to dispose this in those cases also. So for that what we'll do, we'll simply use disposable pattern here. So we'll simply say this component implements iDisposable. So for iDisposable, we need to define a public void dispose method. And here we'll say, let's check timer. If this is not null, question mark, then dispose it. So now we are safely disposing it, we are good. Now it will start running this each second. So now we have update countdown. Here we will have some logic. All right. So first thing is, we have this client time. This will be the time when we got it from this JavaScript. But after this, we should start updating this. This is not automatically going to update. So we will do this. We will simply have this underscore client time. We'll modify it by adding 1 second. That means whenever this update countdown is getting called, and that will be going to be called on each and every second. So we will keep on adding 1 second to this client time. Now we will have updated client time always. Okay. Now after this client time, we will simply compute our remaining time. So this remaining time, we have launch time. Now we have one problem. This launch time, this is in my time zone, but this client time is in UTC format. So let's do this. Let's rename this by appending UTC, so that the naming is clear that this time is UTC time. So remaining time UTC. No, not remaining time. Where is client time? Yeah, this one is. So here we'll say rename client time UTC. Client time is in UTC. This launch time is in my time zone. So we need one more state. So we'll say private date time underscore launch time UTC. Okay. This we are going to get from this launch time. So now we have one problem. Not a problem. We can duplicate this. But I don't want to duplicate this. So what I'll do, I'll simply have a private static variable here, private static date time. Or maybe let's do this. let's change this to be static, this launch time. All right. And then we'll simply compute this launch time UTC from this launch time. So we'll say launch time dot to universal time. So now we have this UTC. From client we are getting UTC. Now we can simply calculate this remaining time correctly. So we'll use launch time UTC minus client time UTC. Now we have this remaining time. Next thing, we need to check if this remaining time, if this is less than or equals to time span dot 0. If the remaining time is 0, that means this is the D-Day, or the launch is already happened, the time is already passed. If that's the case, then we will simply say timer dot dispose, because here we know timer will always be there in this case. So we can simply say use this null forgiving operator, because we are sure this update countdown timer, this is getting called from timer only. So if this is getting called, that means timer exists there. So timer dot dispose, we are good here. Now whether it was disposed, it was completed or not, we are doing this thing. Now this thing is happening inside timer. That means we could say this thing is happening outside of this Blazor's main execution context, because this is, we could say this is being executed on some other thread. We can say this because this is a timer, right? Timer callback. So for this we need to explicitly tell this Blazor component that something has changed. You need to re-render. What has changed? This remaining time has changed. So you need to re-render. So for that, we can simply say invoke async, that go to the main thread and call this state has changed method. All right. So now it will update this remaining time. Now we have this on after render async. Inside this we had this state has changed. Now we can remove this thing. Why? Because the next line is timer. In timer we are saying that start this immediately. That means this update countdown is going to be directly executed after this thing. And here we are saying that state has changed. So there is no point of telling the state has changed twice within the same execution flow. So we can remove this state has changed now. Now we are good. For now, let's do this. Let's display this remaining time. So here I'll say remaining time, and we'll see if this is changing. Remaining time, and let's change this h1 to maybe, let's say, sorry, p2 h3 to see this. Then we'll design this section. Right now let's see how it looks, if this timer is working and all this logic is working. All right, we have it here, launching at, then we have remaining time, and you see this thing, client time is also updating because we are modifying the client time. If you see this client time UTC, we are adding 1 second to this. So this thing is also updating. So we can see this, we will not display this client time. This is only for our calculation, but we'll display this remaining time. So you can see that this thing is changing. Now we just need to design it. Okay, give it a pretty good UI. All right, let's do this. But at least we are sure that this logic and this countdown timer, everything is happening. Everything is working as we are expecting it to work. So we can remove this client time remaining time now. Here what we'll do, we'll say div class row. Inside that we are going to have 4 equal spaced columns. So div class call. Inside this, let's have some wrapper. So we'll say div class, let's say time section. Inside this we are going to have two things. First, let's have one span with some class. We'll see here, we'll say remaining time dot days. Okay, and then we'll say we'll have one more space class. Here we'll say, let's say days. So that means 5 days or something like that. Now let's copy this thing, this div class call, paste it. So first is days, second is going to be hours, third will be minutes, fourth will be seconds. Okay, we can see this, and then we will simply start working on its CSS. But right now let's see how it looks. And we can see this thing. You see, 1 day, 22 hours, 57 minutes, 28 seconds, 27 seconds, 26 seconds, 25 seconds. So this thing is working. We just need to design it now. All right. So first thing what we need is, on this time section, the BG should be white. Background color should be white. Let's add BG white to all these. All right. After that, let's use display flex, and we'll use these as columns. So flex column. All right. And then we'll simply move it to the center. So we'll say justify content center and align items center as well. Align items center. All right. Let's copy this thing and add it to all other time sections. Now we should see something. Let's run it. And we can see this thing. All right. Now next thing what we can do, we can have some padding. We can have rounded corners. All right. And then we can increase the font size of this number section. All right. Let's do this. So for this, what we'll do, let's use CSS for this. So what we'll do, we'll simply use this time section. Inside this, we have these two spans, right? So let's use scoped, or we could say isolated CSS, or we can have it here only if you want to. So inside this shared, I'm going to create a new file. This name should match with this countdown timer.razor.css. All right. And here we have this time section. This is a class. On time section, let's have some padding. Let's say padding of 10 pixel. And then let's say border radius of 10 px only. However, let's increase the padding by 20 px and border radius 10 px. All right. I guess we are good. Now inside this time section, we have span. So space span. So inside time section, we have span. For these spans, we'll say first thing display block. Then we'll say font size. We can increase the font size. Let's say double it to rem. All right. Then I guess we are good. Let's try it out how it looks now. And CSS not loading. Let's hard refresh it. Still not. Something is not right. Let's see what is it. Do we have some console error? No. If we go to this thing, time section, it is not picking up. Alright, let's quickly see if we have that in head blazing countdown.styles.css. Yes, we have it. If we open this, open a new tab, we just have this. If we hard refresh it, it is still not coming. That means something is not right. Is the spelling correct? Yes, spelling is correct. Countdown timer.razor, countdown razor.ces, countdown timer. All right. Clean. Run. Hard refresh. And we can see this now. Okay, so sometimes it takes some time. It is getting all these from its cache. It was not updating it. So try hard refreshing, cleaning and all that. Now we are good. This is not zoomed in, right? The font size. Font size is bigger, right? First, let's do this. Let's increase this width a bit. Instead of call SM5, we'll use call SM6. And then let's do this. Let's have that 2 rem on this first one, but let's have the normal size on this days, hours, minutes and all this. That means the second spans of each group. The second span of each group. That means the last span of each time section. So we'll come here and we'll say dot time section. Inside this we'll get span. Which span? The last child of its parent. Here we'll say font size. You should use 1 rem only. Then let's do this as well. Let's fade this color. So for this color we'll say something like 666. So some lighter color. Save it. And let's run it. I'll hard refresh it multiple times so that it picks up the latest CSS and we are good. You see, 1 day is 22 hours, 50 minutes, 27 seconds. Now let me show you one more thing. After 10 you see 9. Now it is single digit. So single digit, this looks odd. What we will do now, after 0 you see 59, it went to 49. This is fine. It went to 2 digit. So what we should do, we should have always 2 digits. We should prepend 1 to 9 or 0 to 9 to 1 0. All right, so we'll do that thing for all of these. So that thing we'll do next. So if you are following me till here, do let me know in the comment how this is looking. Okay, and please like this video, share this video, and don't forget to subscribe my channel. I am just keep on creating these cool Blazor and .NET MAUI videos, and it takes a lot of effort. And one thing I can ask for is like, share, subscribe. That's all. So please support me on that front. All right. Stop it. So for that, what we can do, we can say dot toString dot pad left. Okay, it has this method, string has this method pad left. Here what we can do, it takes int total width. Total width we need 2 because it should be 2 characters only, comma padding char. So what character it should prepend. Because we are using pad left, this is prepend. We can use pad right as well to append. So here the character we want, that is 0. This thing. So we need to do this for all these. So instead of doing this, what we can do, if you don't want to repeat all these, we know that days is int, hours is int, so all these are integers. So we can simply create an extension method. Okay, so in here we can say number extensions extensions.cs, and because we are making extension method, so we'll need to create it as static class. Here we'll say public static string, it should return string, and here we'll say pad left we need this on integer, so this int will say number, and then character we know we want to have 0, but we can maybe provide it as a parameter. Let's say what character we should append, and we can have default value as 0. If we didn't provide it, we'll use this. Here we can simply say number.toString.pad left 2, and then @char, this one. And if we are using it for our specific case, so maybe we can remove this thing as well, and we can directly say this 2 and then 0 here, or you can make it dynamic by maybe adding the same thing char and then this max length and all these things. But for me, because I know my use case is this pad left 2 with 0 only, so I can do this only. Okay, number extension. Now we can directly use this thing on our countdown timer.razor page. So after hours we could say dot pad left, and we'll be good. The name, I don't think this name fits better here, but this is what I can think of right now. So we are good. Let's quickly check if it is giving us the desired result. All right, 0 1, great. 16 15, let's see, 10 and 9, we can see it prepended this 0, right? So that means this thing is working. Great. So with this, our countdown timer is ready. All right, now next thing, let's finish up working on this countdown timer. Next thing is, when the timer goes to 0, at that time we should have something. We should remove all these things. We should have some different message. Okay, so for this we need to check when timer goes to 0, which is this one. We know we have this case. After this, we need to have some piece of state for if the website is launched. So here we'll say private bool, let's say launched. All right, and then before disposing this timer or after disposing it this timer, no problem, we'll simply set launched to true, that this website is launched now. Now when this is launched, we'll simply modify this thing. Here we'll say inside this else case, we'll say if not launched, then do this, all this thing. If website is launched, then we will not display this, all this countdown thing. We'll simply have one message, something like this h5, or maybe we can have some bigger thing. We'll say let's h2 with class text center and text white. Here we'll say website is launched, please refresh the page. Save it, and let's have some spacing from both the sides, from on y-axis, so from top and bottom, so my3. Let's have the same thing on this launching at as well, my3. And we saw this ist, it was going to the next line, so let's make it smaller. So here we can say small ist and this. And that one more thing which I was saying, let's go to home page. Page is home, and instead of call sm5, let's make it call sm6. Save it and let's rerun. Oh no, let's stop and set the time so that we can see that launched case. So right now it is 8:27. That means I'll have this thing, but for now I'm just commenting this out. So here today is 13th, time is 8:27. 8 means 20 and then 27. Let's have 28 quickly. Run it. Oh my god, it elapsed. So let's make it 29 or 28, or let's say 40 seconds. Let's quickly run it. Hmm, 19 seconds, 18 seconds, good. 16, 15, 14. That's and you see all these are 00. So that pad left, that thing is working. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and then that message should come 0. And website is launched, please refresh the page. Alright, so that means this launched, that thing is also working. Great. So I think with this complete component, this countdown timer component, this is done. Save it. So this complete component is done now. Now we can go to the next part, which is notify form. Alright, so interactive WebAssembly, this section is done. This was only this countdown timer which we were using. Now we'll work on this notify form, which is actually statically server side rendered only, but we will use stream rendering on this so that we can show that loading spinner for that button. Alright, so let's go to this notify form. Here, first thing, we need to have one text box. In that text box we will have email and that email validation. So we will need to have one model here. So we'll simply say private class, let's say notify model. This is going to have only one property of type string, that will be email. Okay, let's add couple of data annotations here. First thing we need, this is required. Then let's say this is going to be email address. Next thing, this will be, let's add data type as well. Data type dot email. Then let's have length. So minimum length, let's say 7, and maximum length, let's say 150 characters. So save it, and now we are good. Our model is ready. Our class is ready basically. And then inside this, we'll simply have one property of type this notify model, and we'll name it, let's say name it model only. So private class notify model, and let's make this property as well private notify. Okay, notify model. We have this model, let's initialize it with the default value. Now we are good, our model is ready. Now we can use this model in our form. So here we'll have one div with class, let's say my3. Then we will have simply one h5 with class text white. Here we'll say, let's say get notified when we launch our website, something like this. Then we will use edit form here. Okay, In edit form, we'll use data annotation validator. And now on this edit form, first thing we need its model. So it is going to be this model. We need enhance form submission for this. So we'll use this enhance here. After that, we should use form name whenever we are working with SSR with forms. So form name, we should have something. That something is, let's have one constant here. So private const string, let's say notify form name. Okay, it should be anything. Let's say notify form only. So here we can use this form, this thing at the rate notify form name. Cool. Okay, and then on valid submit, we'll call one method. Let's say save email async. We need to save this notification email. And this method we can define it here. So private async task save email async, and we are good. All right. Now, because we are working this with SSR, so whenever we'll submit this button, this form is going to be posted. And because this SSR, this complete page is going to be posted to the server. And then at server, we could have multiple components with multiple forms. We need to tell, using this form name, we are telling that, okay, you should use this form. That means you should use this on valid submit. That means you should use this form, this method when you are submitting. But we need this data on that post request. When we're posting our form, we need this data to be filled from this form. So for this, we need to map this model with this form. So this is mapping happens using this form name. So the way we have form name on this edit form, same thing we'll have on this model. Here we have supply parameter from form. If this is getting complicated, please do let me know in the comment. I can create a dedicated video for this, why we need form name, what is this supply parameter from form, and how this works. Okay, do let me know in the comment. I can plan a dedicated video for this. All right, so here also we will provide form name, this notify form name. So this should match. For get, it will simply display this using this model. For post, it will get the data from this form name, which is this form name. So from here. All right. Now let's have this thing here. Here what we'll do, we will have input text box with that button. So we'll use input group from Bootstrap. Okay. So the way it works, we will have one div class with input group. Okay, then we will have input text with bind value of this model dot email. All right, then we can have some Bootstrap classes on this. So we'll have form control and form control and LG to make this bigger. All right, then let's have placeholder as well. Placeholder, and here we'll say, let's say enter your email. Okay, because this is email, we can optionally add this type email if we want to. This is pure HTML, it does not have to do anything with Blazor. So input text type email, we can have this as well. All right, after this we'll have a button. So we'll say button, and this type should be submit, so that this button submits this form. Okay, on this we'll add couple of classes. So btn primary. Okay, yeah, let's do this only. Then we'll say notify me. Looks like we are good with the UI. In this save email async, let's do this. Let's say await task.delay. Let's say I'm having a 3 seconds delay. So this will be something like save the email in database or send this email to some external source or wherever you want to. Okay, so we are assuming that it will take this 3 seconds, and after 3 seconds we can simply reset this model. So we'll say model equals new. All right, now let's run it. We can see this thing. You see, get notified, enter your email, notify me. I clicked on it, but I can't see that validation here. Let's add that validation. So for that, what we'll do, maybe after this div, I will simply add a validation message here. For this validation message should be for model.email, and we can add classes to this CSS class. So here I'll say text danger to make it red. Run it again. All right, we are here. Let's add, click on it, and we can see this email field is required, the validation thing. Now this is input type email, it is coming from there. If we make this thing with some valid email, then if we notify me, pay attention, I clicked on it. After 3 seconds, that error message got removed and this got cleared. That means it went to that method and something happened. But till the time it was doing that thing, we can't see if anything is happening or not. Right? So we should have something here, some visual indication that something is happening. All right. For this, what we'll do, we'll simply say get bootstrap.com. I'll go to bootstrap, not example, docs. Here I'll have spinners, this. I'll have button spinners, these buttons. So I'm going to use this button, the second one. So this button. Okay, let's copy this button. Come here. And here we need to have one piece of state which will tell that this time this is processing. So here we can have private bool underscore is processing. By default it is false because it is not processing. When we are in save email async, here we'll say is processing to true. Then maybe we can wrap this thing in try catch block. In catch we can display error or whatever we want to, and then in finally we'll simply say is processing to false because now processing is done. All right, let's see if this is processing is here. So we won't be having this button in that case. Here I'm going to say if not is processing, then do this thing whatever we are doing. That means we are displaying that notify me button. If this is in processing state, my god, I missed that. Let's see. Yes, I have this. All right, so we will have this button btn primary but type button disabled loading. So instead of loading, let's say saving. So we are saving the email. All right, dot dot dot, and we are good. Now if I run it, it should show this thing, right? But what would we notice? Because this is SSR, statically server side rendered, that means it got rendered. We have this thing here. After that, if I click on this notify me, nothing is happening. But it is actually there. It is doing its operation. But the response we will get after that 3 seconds has passed. We are not getting anything. So When we clicked on that button, it came here, and then the control flow will go back when the execution comes here. Then we will see the updated UI. That means it was here is processing true, but control flow didn't go to UI. UI was not getting rendered at this time. After everything, then is processing again set to false. That means it is again false. That means it is in the same as previous state. It came out and then it re-rendered the UI. So it didn't change. So if we are changing it in between for this, and because this is not interactive page, so for interactive pages, it should have directly updated the UI in between. So for these kind of cases with Blazor SSR, we have stream rendering. So we can simply start the response. We can pass response in chunks. So we will start sending the response from here. It will set is processing to true. We will see this updated UI, and it will simply keep on that connection open, and after this control flow goes out of this method, then it will finally close that response stream, and we will have the final UI with this is processing false. So to enable stream rendering, we can simply add one attribute on this page where we'll say stream rendering, and that's all, that this page enables this component is using stream rendering. Now let's run it. Do let me know in the comment if you want to know more about stream rendering and how this works. Although I have explained it briefly, but still if you want to, I can make a dedicated video for this. So please do let me know in the comment if you want a dedicated video for stream rendering. Alright, now let's try this. If I press notify me, you see this saving and we can see this. And after 3 seconds, it came back to normal. And this thing also, you'll notice that as soon as we click on this, that error message is not there. All right, so that means this section, notify section, is also completed. Now we will move to our next section, which is final section, this social links. Okay, so for this, what I did, I got some icons downloaded from boxicons.com. From here, for example, Facebook, Twitter, GitHub, YouTube, you can simply search for those. So let's say GitHub. I have this GitHub. We'll simply click on it. And here we have this PNG option. So I actually downloaded all the 36 px PNG icons. So just click on this download. It will simply download. All right. So I downloaded all these icons. I showed you how to download this. Let me copy this in our application. What I'll do inside, let's say www root folder, I am going to create a folder image. www root, add new folder, let's say images. Inside this images, let's say create a new folder. Here we'll say social icons, something like this. Inside the social icons, I'm going to add all the social icons I have: GitHub, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. GitHub, LinkedIn, Twitter, YouTube. All right, these 4. Save everything. Let's close all these, and then we'll go to simply, let's go to home page. Or maybe we already have the social links, right? So we'll work on this social links. All right, so here first we need to have all these images and links corresponding to these social profiles. All right, so we need this image, or we could say icon URL, and links to these social medias. Social media profiles. All right, so we need these 2 things. For this, what I am going to do, I'm simply going to create a inline type here. Let's say social, and I'm going to have one tuple here, value tuple, so string icon, string link. All right, Then I'll simply say private. Let's move this declaration out of this code. We can have it here also, but we are good. This @ is required for this because it uses this inline using statements for these inline types. So this is a new feature in .NET 8 actually. Alright, so here I'll say private social array. Here I'll say social links equals, then we can have this array collection expression. This is also .NET 8 feature which I like most. Here we can simply have these two things. So value tuple, that means this parenthesis, these braces. First is icon. So let's say first we'll have this GitHub logo. So let's have this GitHub logo, comma, we need to have link, the URL correspond to this thing. Where I'll say https www.github.com. I'm going to add my profile link, github.com/subhaprince. Then paste it 3-4 times. Next one we have LinkedIn. So let's change this linkedin.com/in/subhaprince. Then third is Twitter. So here I'll say x.com/subhaprince3. By the way, please do connect with me on social media, like follow on social media. Okay, so the links of all my social media accounts are going to be in the description box. And after Twitter we have YouTube. Here we'll say youtube.com/@subhaprince, my YouTube channel's URL. So our social links are ready now. Now we can use these. All right. So here what I'll do, I'll simply have div class. Do I need any class? I don't know. Let's see. Here I'm going to have, let's say, h6 with class text center and text white. Here I'll say connect with us on social media. This heading. And after that, I'm going to have an UL with some class. First thing is list unstyled. I don't want that bulleted kind of thing which UL automatically adds in the browser. So I don't need that. Inside this, I'm going to add for each var social in underscore social links. Okay. Here I'm going to have li, and inside this li I'm going to have an h tag, and this is going to be @social.link. This link. All right. Here next thing, I want this to open in a separate window, so target blank. All right. Then let's have a couple of classes. Let's see what classes we'll add. Inside this anchor tag, we will have img tag. Okay. For img, we will set src, and this is going to be this image we have, but the complete URL we'll have from here. So it should be the images/social-links, sorry, social icons / this thing, this social dot icon. All right. And on this we can have alt, let's say blazing website social profile or something like this. We can have it. Save everything. Let's quickly try it out how it is looking, then we'll design it further. All right, so this is in this vertical format. We need it horizontally. So for this, what we can do, let's go to this UL list unstyled. Here we can say display flex, so deflex. Now this is like this. Next thing, let's do justify content center and align item center, so these icons are centered horizontally and vertically both. All right, now we need some spacing in these. Okay, because we are using display flex, we can use gap. Okay, so let's say gap 3, and we have some gap in this. All right, after that we can, all these are these black and white images. We can, what we can do, we can have some background color related to these brand colors. For example, GitHub is in black and white, LinkedIn is in some bluish color, Twitter is some light bluish color, and then this YouTube is in red color, right? So we'll use those background colors, but before that, let's use this list and style all these classes: display flag, justify content center, align item center, and gap 3. So let's go to this UL. We'll add it here. Inside this, we have these things. On this anchor tag, let's have some class here. So we'll say social A, or maybe social link. Let's have this styling here. So style type text CSS, which is default, but still here I have this social link. Inside this social link, do we need to add something? No, right? Okay, let's do this social link. Inside this, when image comes, that means img comes, on this img, first thing, let's change that image filter to invert. I am changing it to black to white basically, so we are inverting the appearance of this image. We can apply filter CSS class. Then let's have some fixed height and we need background classes for all these, right? Different background classes. So let's add one more type to this social type. So here I'll say string, let's say bg class. Okay, background class. So here this is GitHub, that means black and white kind of thing. So we can say bg dark. These classes will come from Bootstrap only. Let's add for all these. Then for LinkedIn, it is bluish color, so we'll say primary. Twitter is light, so we'll say info, bg info. YouTube is red, so we'll use bg danger. These are contextual colors for these things, so we can use this. Now we have this bg color as a part of this social link. So this social, here on this anchor tag, social link, here we can say at the rate social.bg class. Save it. Let's run it. All right, we can see these. These are looking ugly, but at least we can see something. Okay, so let's design one of these, then we'll apply the same thing on all. So let's pick this YouTube one. So on this anchor tag, we need display block. Display, not flags. So D block. All right, we can see something. Then we will have some padding. So let's say P1. Cool. Then we need to have rounded borders. So after P1, let's say rounded. And we are good now. So let's have these three classes on anchor tag. So on anchor tag, we have this social link and this bg class. After this, we'll add all these classes. So these two things we don't need. D block, P1 and rounded. We need these things. So save these. Now we should be good. All right. At least we can see something. Let's click on LinkedIn. It will open my LinkedIn profile in a separate window. Let's click on YouTube. It will open YouTube in a separate window, you see. And same will go with GitHub and all other profiles. So we are good with this. Now we can also have some styling for these. So let's have some box shadow. Internal box shadow. Let's take any one of these. Let's take this LinkedIn one. Here on this anchor tag, let's do this social link. We have the social link class, right? Here, let's say box shadow 0010px and some color, black color. Okay, we can see this thing, and let's make it inside. Cool, it is looking good, right? This thing. Let's copy this styling, box shadow, and this thing. Copy this, add it in this social link. Save it, save everything. Let's run it again. And cool. All right. So I think we are done with whatever we wanted. Everything is in place. We have logo, we have main website running, and if we run it, we have this launching at the current date time and everything before WebAssembly comes in. And after that, we have this counter running. This is actually real time runtime actual counter, so countdown timer. Then we have this section notify me, which is using proper validations, stream rendering, and all that stuff, stream rendering, all this. Then we have again this static section, connect with us on social media. So all these are social media links. All right, so please do let me know in the comment if you liked this small project. Okay, and please like this video, share this video, subscribe my channel, and yeah, the source code of this you can find it in the description as well. And yeah, I guess that's all for this. If you like this video, share this video, subscribe my channel. I'll be back soon with some other cool video. Till then, bye bye, happy coding.